What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We're going to talk a little AEW in this video. It's been a minute. We had a long week in the Continental Classic. Some really solid matches, of course, none bigger than the one this past Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. Darby Allin against Will Ospreay, a match that I never had thought of before, but once it was announced, I was absolutely dead set on watching this thing, and it was everything I thought it was going to be, and amazing. And I'm actually kind of surprised at the outcome, but it does make sense when you look at the standings that Darby Allin, after nearly breaking his spine on the ring apron with a coffin drop, managed to come back and in a fantastic match, one of the better ones on Dynamite this year. He did manage to beat Will Ospreay, getting himself up to 6 points, which creates a pretty big logjam at the top of their block in the Continental Classic to C2. Kazuchika Okada is still holding strong in his division, and he's got some wiggle room here because Kyle Fletcher in that big, huge upset last week to Mark Briscoe. That's a match that's going to be a rematch that's going to come down the line, I'm sure, at some time in the future on a Dynamite or a pay-per-view. And overall, again, I said this about a week ago. I think the Continental Classic this year, even though the outcome seems a little bit obvious that we're going for a Fletcher Ospreay finale, that's not guaranteed. They have put enough mystery in it that you kind of wonder a little bit here and there, but that is where I'm banking that the finals are going to be. But overall, man, this tournament this year is a lot better booked than it was last year. So kudos to AEW on that front. Matt Cardona has also been in the news regarding AEW, or should I say more, the rumor mill. The rumor's been going around that he's been offered an AEW contract, which makes sense given that he's been featured a lot on AEW TV and Ring of Honor lately. He's got that big pay-per-view match with Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor Championship coming up in New York. Cardona did respond to the rumors about being offered a contract, and he was very political about it. He said, and I quote, "Listen, I cannot think about the future. I need to think one show at a time. I can't be looking ahead. I need to focus day by day. That, with independence, that's what made me so successful, is that I'm treating each opportunity like it's the biggest deal. Because if I don't treat it like it's a big deal, then it's not a big deal. So I go all in on every single thing that I do. I take one match at a time, one day at a time." Now, Cardona, I think he's, given his friendships, he's got friends all over the wrestling business, on the local scene, the independent scene, or whatever. He's got friends in AEW, he's got friends in WWE, obviously. So the fact that in TNA and everywhere else, so he can pretty much go everywhere. And I dig his spirit of kind of doing, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to be like held down anything. I think if he really wanted to sign, WWE definitely would love to use him. So would AEW. The fact that he hasn't signed with either one of those companies is a little bit telling, but 2025 is 2025. So we'll see how that pans out in the future. Chris Jericho said he'd be surprised if something doesn't happen with the signing of Matt Cardona. And, Jericho has a lot of influence. And he's another guy that's reinvented himself like Cardona over and over and over again. A lot of people are not very wild about the current Jericho iteration, but let's not kid ourselves. Jericho has been one of the best wrestlers across the board in every promotion that he's ever been in for years and years and years, from New Japan to WCW to WWF, then WWE to AEW now, back to New Japan, and so on and so forth, now in Ring of Honor. So I think there's some influence there. And again, I'm going to put it, Cardona's probably not going to sign, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if he did. Now, AEW, even though it gets a lot of bad press, their PR is pretty bad, and they get it from all sides. They get it from the fan base, they get it from people in the business. Shockingly, or maybe not so shockingly, there is one person in the business, at least, who actually is a current WWE wrestler who thinks highly of AEW, and that is Drew McIntyre. He's quoted as saying, "I'm happy to watch all wrestling, especially when I'm off. When I was out that 3 months, when one person called me the entire time I was out," because that's been his angle lately. That's part shoot and part work. That's the time for me to catch up on everything. Impact, AEW, New Japan, the independents. I'm happy to see so many people I'm friends with making a full-time living. It's cool to see somebody as prominent as Drew McIntyre in a different company saying, hey, it's great. I watch all wrestling. Take a hint from that. I watch all wrestling, and I'm happy to see people I know who are friends of mine doing well in other businesses. I kind of wonder if he, because Drew did have his own thing when he left WWE. I think it was 2014, and he went on to the local scene and the independent scene, and did what he could, and he enjoyed his time there. Of course, he's enjoying his time mostly in WWE, so I think that's part of it too. Drew is definitely, I'm gaining much more respect for him as time goes on. The last little bit of news I want to get to is obviously we've got WrestleDream and WrestleDynasty. There's so many Wrestle shows. WrestleMania, WrestleDynasty, WrestleDream. We got WrestleDynasty coming up in New Japan on January the 5th at the Tokyo Dome, which is going to be the in-ring return of Kenny, by God, Omega. Anytime Kenny's back in New Japan, I'm happy. I was just watching some old New Japan. I'll talk about this in a different video. I was watching some 2017, 2018 New Japan the other day. My God, it is night and day, dude. Like that time frame, that time period in New Japan was something else. The talent that they had on that roster was something else. And one of the big four of that era was Kenny Omega, along with Okada, Tanahashi, and Naito. There's been some people grumbling about Kenny Omega and, why is he returning in New Japan? Nobody's gonna, the usual grifters. AEW has its grifters too. The report is that with Omega clear to compete, fans have been waiting for him to come back to AEW. There probably will be a return of Kenny Omega after the January 5th match against Gabe Kidd, which I'm highly looking forward to, and to see what comes out of that, if there's any plans coming out of that one. We do know when Kenny was last on AEW TV, he was taken out by the new elite of the Young Bucks, Jack Perry and Kazuchika Okada. I do believe that when Kenny does come back to AEW, that's going to be the focus. My hope is that Okada, Omega, technically 5 or 6. A lot of us consider that to be the 5th or 6th match. There was a match in Australia, so technically it's the 6th, but canon-wise, people are going to consider it the 5th match between Okada and Omega. And that match was originally, if you remember, some of you might not because it's been a long time now, but that was supposed to be, or people assumed it was going to be, the main event for that 2019 Madison Square Garden show that New Japan and Ring of Honor sold out. That was probably part of the reason that sold out, which would have been awesome if you had the last match between Okada and Omega in that series happen at Madison Square Garden. That would have been legendary. Hopefully it's coming for Texas and All In. If they do it before that, I will cry foul with everybody else. But I think that is definitely, if you're going to sell tickets to that All In show in Texas, that is a match that definitely could move in, especially if they hype it as, hey, this is the match. This is pretty much the match that started a lot of this stuff. That, again, you cannot stress how important Okada and Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 11, later on at the 2 Dominion shows, the G1 final the G1 match that they had, cannot stress enough how important those matches were to us even having an AEW today. So hopefully AEW treats it that way. Hopefully they do a lot of hype about that and pump that thing to the moon. I don't care. Over-hype the crap out of that match. Hopefully it's at All In. Hopefully it's in Texas. I definitely will go if that's the case. Because I have never seen, one of the things on my wrestling bucket list is to see an Okada Omega match live. I really wanted to back in the day. Could never get to Japan to do it. Was thinking that they were going to do it at MSG. Turned out Kenny left before they could do that. So now if there is an opportunity, which it definitely seems that there will be, that Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega will be wrestling in AEW in the next 12 months, I'm going to be there definitely. But I want to know what you guys think. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. What do you think about the Continental Classic? Who do you think the finals are going to be? Is it going to be Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher? Could it possibly be Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. And what do you think about Matt Cardona possibly signing with AEW? What do you think Kenny Omega is going to be doing when he comes back to AEW? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and commentary on Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.